7 minutes for seniors, folks. I'm Chris. This is Dr. William Nields. This is our fifth and final segment. Thank you so much for indulging me. I had a good time with you talking about those other things. The fifth segment is our last segment, but I always think about it as the future. It's kind of like, if you plan for the future, then you know what's coming up next. You set your timer, right? You turned it on? No. There you go. All right. So the fifth segment is all about the future. So I like to, personally, at the end of the week, I like to think about next week, not what just happened this past week. Think about the future, right? So with that in mind, if I could introduce you to anybody, living, dead, fiction, nonfiction, don't care. If I could introduce you to anybody, who would it be and why?
Well, it's an interesting question. The number one person that I would want to meet physically would probably be Jesus Christ.
Okay. Who
means a lot to me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Although I would say that I do have a relationship with him in a spiritual sense, not a physical sense. So I've always said, apart from that, Bob Marley is a very interesting character to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I just think he was so unique, and then he did so much in the music that he made. He just would be a fascinating person to sit and talk to.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people out there that are interesting. I guess I would love to sit down and talk to Joe Rogan about some of these things in cognitive care and natural health.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of other great podcasters out there that you can have great conversation with. Jack Cruz is a very interesting individual. He'd be an interesting person to talk to. He's a neurosurgeon that has sort of figured out circadian rhythms and light and how important that is for our health.
Oh, wow.
He's a very intelligent fella that has gone deep into the medical literature, has very strong opinions and interesting personality. There's so many people.
It's funny that you mentioned Bob Marley, because I think I told you I've done like 60 of these interviews. Believe it or not, the 27 Club is the number one group, like the 27 Club, and then followed very closely by former presidents.
Okay, who's the 27 Club?
So all the people that died when they were 27.
Okay.
Bob Marley, Jim Morrison.
Interesting.
Oh, geez. I'm going to blank on one. But Kurt Cobain is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a whole bunch of them that died in there. So for some reason, that's a group that gets brought up quite a bit.
Interesting.
The 27
I had
Club.
no idea.
Yeah.
I actually thought he was older.
And amazingly, everybody says Jesus, but then they pick somebody else.
Well, that's not acceptable to some people. That's why
it's just funny because a lot of people mention Jesus, but then they talk about somebody else. So first answer was Jesus. Okay, so what's something you would ask him? Yeah, well, okay, actually, I should probably preface this. Would you go back to Jesus' time, or would you bring Jesus forward to this time?
Wow, that's an interesting question.
And then what would you ask him?
Well, I guess I live in this time. I'm very curious as to what things were like back then. So I think it'd be really fun to go back in time and see how that was before all the modern technology, which has made our life very convenient, but in a lot of ways it's complicated our lives quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So I guess I would go back. And, my first question would probably be, what can I do for you? Where am I off track here?
Mm-hmm.
Can you guide me? What are the insights that you have where you're as we father children and watch them, you're seeing them have to make their own mistakes and you want to intervene and help them. So I'd kind of be looking for that sort of fatherly wisdom, advice as to how I could live my life better. Then I think, everybody always is going to want to know, why do good people suffer?
Mm-hmm.
Why do bad things happen to good people, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really tough to deal with when you're watching people or going through things, self and family members. And then I'm sure natural conversation would lead to a lot of other...
Oh yeah, you get a lot of insight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So dealing specifically with the future, and this is the last question, and this question has evolved over time, but I think I finally settled on this question. What does retirement look like for you? I talk to so many people, and all of us are about enriching senior life, which in turn is about enriching retirement, right? The no longer working times, right? So what does retirement look like for you, and what steps have you taken to get ready for that?
Well, I have 9 kids. So as I tell them, you guys are my retirement plan since I've invested heavily in your lives. But seriously, I have don't see myself ever really retiring, but maybe shifting responsibilities into new things. I love regenerative agriculture. We talked a little bit about farming. I see that as integral to our health. So perhaps working more with agriculture medicinally. You know, right now I'm thinking a lot about having medicinal foods, like you talked about Andrew Weil, the botanist, the physician. You know, developing product lines that can help where there's these sort of gaps in our healthcare where, you know, there's no pharmaceuticals for certain things, or there's a lot of herbal products that can be very helpful for people. So, you know, developing and growing. I love to be outdoors. That's part of my appeal to that. Sunshine, fresh air, growing plants. That all appeals to me. So regenerative farming, I could see myself transitioning into that work. I'm probably going to need some younger people to help me do the labor and stuff, but to be active out there. I want to be physically active in retirement, so I really try to do as much to stay physically active. I think our bodies are definitely use it or lose it. Yeah. We don't want to overuse and injure ourselves, but I do want to be physically active, so I see myself being out, able to enjoy things with my family and especially my wife, you know, hiking and being outdoors at the beach and etc.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. All the information is going to be coming up. There's going to be lots of information in the descriptions and the videos and the social media about the guide program. I cannot stress this enough to you. There are no other programs out there that are meant to help people with Alzheimer's and dementia like the guide program is going to be doing. Jackie and I are constantly out there trying to introduce folks that might be watching these videos to people like Dr. Nields because of their involvement with the guide program. I can assure you that it is one of the most important programs that Medicare has put together, and we look forward to many other programs that Medicare is going to put together to take care of these chronic conditions that cost our country so much time and money and energy. So we look forward to working with Gray Matters and working with you and sending folks your way. And of course, we'll be doing the home safety assessments for all of your people. So thank you very much. It's been 7 minutes for seniors. I'm Chris. This is Dr. Nields. And reach out to him if you have any questions. All right?
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Y'all have a good day.